Good morning, everyone. Uh, just a second ago, the you all vanished, and the iPad filled up with my face, which was kind of alarming. But now I'm back with you all, and it's great to see you. I don't know what the Zazen Kai has been like for you. For me, it's been quite changeable. I've been sitting in front of my window here, and it started out with a bright sun in my face that was making me quite hot. Uh, and then clouds started coming in and covering the sun, cooled off, and a breeze came through my window. And then it was back to the sun, and then back to the clouds. And so all of that was going on as I was just sitting there, just sitting up straight. And, it really didn't matter what my opinion was about it. Uh, these changes came and went. And can I say that they were separate from myself? Well, clearly not. They were my zazen. They affected my zazen. Can I say they're the same as myself? Well, clearly not. I'm Rio. I'm talking to you now. So all that came up for me because I wanted to talk a little bit about the bowl that we eat out of when we do oryoki. And I realize that some of you have never done oryoki and are not familiar with it. But basically, it's a ritualized way of taking a meal and paying attention to each aspect of the meal as we're taking it. And oryoki is traditionally done with 3 or 5 bowls, but whether it's done with 3 or 5, the bowl on the left is always the biggest, and it's called the Buddha bowl. And I felt that Buddha bowl was kind of like my zazen this morning because the servers come around and they bring various dishes, and they start putting food into your bowl. Now, the ground rules of oryoki are very compassionate. There's a whole system of hand signals. So if a server comes by and you find he's about to serve you, pretty repulsive, you can just put your hand right over your bowl and he won't give it to you. You can also, if you like the thing, you can say, hey, give me a little more of that. And when the quantity is just right, you signal enough. So that's kind of like what the monks of old did, but with kind of training wheels, because the rules in the old days were kind of different. And I was thinking about this because of the Diamond Sutra, which begins with the Buddha taking up his begging bowl. That's how he started his day. He takes up his begging bowl. And the ground rules then were you go from house to house in the village, in this case, the town of Sravasti, and the householders put food in your bowl or they don't. But the rule is whatever they put in your bowl, you're going to eat it. So, if some of that food in ancient India, you can imagine, was probably not in such great shape in those days without refrigeration. But whatever went into the bowl, you received it freely and with gratitude. And of course, you never knew what you were going to get. Some days there'd be a special treat in the bowl. And maybe some days some joker had just cleaned up after the cat and put the result in the bowl. Much like my zazen this morning, where the weather just came and went. And of course, we can see that this begging bowl of the Buddha is a very powerful metaphor because the bowl, the emptiness of the bowl, allows the coming and going of the various meals, whether they're good, bad, or indifferent. The coming and going of the various meals, good, bad, and indifferent, confirm the emptiness of the bowl. So when we say the bowl is empty, that has no meaning at all, unless there are meals constantly coming and going. How would you know it was empty if it were not at times full, at times half full, times a quarter full? The concept would have no meaning. So the coming and going of the various meals are what we mean by saying it's an empty bowl. And when we say, my bowl is empty, that means the various meals, good, bad, and indifferent, are free to come and go. Two ways of looking at the same action. And of course, the Buddha continues to teach the Diamond Sutra in these few opening lines. It tells us that after begging in the city, he returned to his Sangha just outside the city. He ate his meal, whatever it was, sat down, adjusted his robe, and then began to take questions. And so we see that receiving the meal and offering a meal cannot be said to be two different actions if we're looking at it holistically, instead of trying to pick out the bits. If we look at the whole thing, had the Buddha not emptied his bowl, received a meal, and consumed a meal, he would not have been able to offer us the wonderful meal of the Diamond Sutra. I think of it kind of as like being in baseball. If a hitter doesn't bring the bat back toward himself before he swings it, not much is going to happen. So receiving and giving, when we talk about dana paramita, we call it giving. But it's important to understand that we receive and we give freely. By giving, we actually receive. By offering this talk, I am receiving right now the gift of your intention, or maybe the gift of your lack of attention, depending on what's going on for you. But my bowl is being filled even as I'm a householder filling your bowl with my words. In other words, these things are all interpenetrated. The empty bowl and the coming and going of the meals are interpenetrated and confirm each other. Giving and receiving are interpenetrated and are a single offering. Now, of course, sometimes our bowl is not quite as empty as it should be. We have it filled up with a lot of ideas about who we are and what we're supposed to be and how the world is supposed to work. And wonderful meals are offered to our bowl, and we don't even realize it because there's no room for them to come in. Or just a horrible meal is being offered, one we don't want to eat at all. And we're so busy crying, poor me, why me, that we miss the experience that we're having. We miss the gift, unwelcome as it is, that we're receiving, and we're missing the opportunity to make an offering, no matter from what place of weakness or distress. And so, if we think about this opening passage of the Diamond Sutra, we can see that the whole sutra is contained right in that simple action of the Buddha going about his normal daily affairs. What's the gist of the Diamond Sutra? It's simply Subhuti-esque. The Buddha asked Subhuti, what do you think, Subhuti? Has the Tathagata attained the consummation of incomparable enlightenment? Does he have a teaching to enunciate? And Subhuti says, no, world-honored one, as I understand it, there is no ongoing state. There is no state that can be called consummation of incomparable enlightenment. And the Buddha has nothing, no particular teaching to enunciate. How could he when the meal is different each day? Some days it's nectar, some days it's broken glass, some days it's nectar and broken glass mixed up together in a collation that's so mixed together you can't separate one from the other. So all this is just a way of saying the emptiness and the fullness of the bowl confirm each other. Emptiness and the dharmas are not two. The ever-changing dharmas confirm emptiness. And because of emptiness, the dharmas are ever-changing, not still, even for a single second. So what the Diamond Sutra doesn't tell us, except I think in that opening, is, well, then what? what are we supposed to do being this empty bowl? Our life being this empty bowl where we are constantly being served, we are constantly serving, and the nature of the meal changes so radically depending on the causes and conditions of the moment. Well, we get some wonderful teachings about this in the literature. One very simple one is Joshu's response to a monk. A monk asked Joshu, I'm just in this monastery for the first time and beginning my studies. How should I go about it? And Joshu says, have you had your breakfast? Have you had your meal? And the monk goes, yes, I have. And Joshu says, well then, wash your bowl. So this bowl is something that needs quite a bit of tender attention and tender care. You know, we can think of emptiness as being this eternal void that it doesn't matter what we do or don't do, not so. Our bowl, the bowl of our lives, the bowl of ourselves, the bowl of this evanescent universe constantly needs our tender attention. It needs to be washed. When thoughts come up in zazen, we let them go. And then they come up again, and we let them go. Similarly in our life, we get up from our zazen, and then it's time to vacuum the living room. And we vacuum the living room. And the living room gets pretty dusty and dirty even the next day, and we vacuum it again. So we are constantly being served the meal, and we are constantly serving the meal. The meal is constantly being prepared for us, and we constantly prepare the meal. And it's a single seamless motion, like the in-breath and the out-breath during zazen. Now it's coming in, now it's going out. It comes in from no particular place, and it goes out to no particular place. The 18th century poet, Ryokan, who was a Zen master as well as a poet, wrote a wonderful, simple, and I think very profound poem about a bowl. I'd like to share it with you. The title of the poem is My Cracked Wooden Bowl. And I'll read it and then go through it in a little more detail. My cracked wooden bowl. This treasure was discovered in a bamboo thicket. I washed the bowl in a spring and then mended it. After morning meditation, I take my gruel in it. At night, it serves me soup or rice. Cracked, worn, weather-beaten, and misshapen, but still of noble stock. So I think Ryokan here is pointing to something extremely important. When we say Our lives are perfect and complete just as they are. If we truly observe our life and understand our life, we realize that our lives, just as the wooden bowl in the metaphor, is broken. It's cracked. All of us are broken, cracked, suffering bowls, perfect and complete, just as we are. And Ryokan says, this treasure was discovered in a bamboo thicket. And of course, the poem is so simple and wonderful, just on its own terms. I don't like to make too much symbolism, but I think we can see our practice in that line. In our practice, we sit in the midst of the bamboo thicket. Our thoughts, cravings, fears, desire, our depression, our anxiety. The normal way is to banish all that stuff, get rid of it, ignore it, do something wholesome, exercise, jog. Well, that's great stuff to do. But I don't care what you do. I don't care what the New Age tells you. You will never be able to avoid being this broken bowl. Your life will always be broken. Your heart, if you open your heart, will always be broken. This is not a problem to be eliminated. This is what is meant by the perfection and completeness of the Dharma. So this treasure was discovered in a bamboo thicket. I washed the bowl in a spring and then mended it. But though he mended it, it's cracked, worn, weather-beaten, and misshapen, but still of noble stock. It nourishes him every day. In the morning, gruel appears in it. In the evening, soup or rice. He washes it every day. As more cracks appear, he mends it every day. So looking at these teachings, we don't have to look very far to realize what Dogen Zenji meant when he referred to practice realization. Serving the broken bowl, taking care of it day after day. You don't do that in order to receive the meal. This is the meal, this constant service of our empty, broken world. This is the meal that truly nourishes us. Dogen defines practice realization as wholehearted effort without expectation. Well, what is there to expect when the meal is perfect, just as it is at this moment?